right, I'm a quite better by so you bring come about do, but some days I send some daughter do or yeah do and 14 January 2026. About that's what Papa. Ya bet na from za na no edit so come on e ba abobo. Za odi nkrate no mahien agenda 111 project what's it wotum no overstart and overstart no obobwa manazema pinyan wotum na wenye adwuma aye uchema 35 contractors order to refund 1.9 million na charge na 111 project no and 35 contractors order to refund sika with the honensa the wundi juma no amadanzama bi wan koye another za osada we no entum na amadon auditor general with the mention about to go the OMAR if you want to na OMAR same another one for the Mexican refund no want to na one for bra oil contractors the same ya ko hene man ka ten bi so no watum na wo cheche MPP fo oya huna ba to oya bosum yara yiwomi nti ibi buwin ibi ne win amene mutum agiga na so amene mutum abua ne na no owo onka cha no mu nti ebekwa akohwe za ibutum ne yaba be mu no ya da chira oya nazamba na efi etum na akwayi mpapa tama so na osiafa awama mpan na so yi abrase bikwa mankasi michire mbeshebegwen na so wa mpan na so yi ne kasamafo achensem de ndema pi nya na otum no onkodo na so hye some trofo bi se nsem pi na the mensem otum bi se otum ya no another wontum na wanya no was a fuel levy one sidin no bad pa na wotum na was that aye the man so was on paying si ahyiafo no oretodo na oretoda sikasam na nzama wotum oyusu no osenda ododom hina account some trofo bi se nsem nti ehyen ko na asa ebakwa akwa kete ne munsam na pi okeka ho IGP bo police food bi ho na baadom che 17 police officer baado kwa kwhwe mfin na akoro na nkoma ohia the police football bo ho na baado na mobo a oye fide o hene yimi Costa TV ya sha oya abwa no dwumedasi nti you call oya assembly member oya pedu ngobado ina akwatwe nkomo assembly member ashen bode pedu community ayakrado na mobo fida obagina wa wetu ina pinya kaka ho na so aba telefoni obedem bia za ibutum baba bi za awayim so domo bacha ho na adwo so ti mezose o ma bi na abjara edan yo smaba bi na yaba yeba meda oye za akam ho nezi na fie tum na ashen ko mo bonus
Mido, Gana Biana. I'm going to be able to see everything on the pan. I said, baby, shit. Mangashi.
Junior! I'm saying so enough for me, you know.
Sister Cospa, it's a winning gas.
I'm used to the why. My wife.
Down Yankanawa.
Sister Cos. Use gas. Gas ye fast, ye easy, ye convenient. Wow.
LPG, let me see your hand. Ooh, I got
right yes I actually am oya akwa babiem mizin bi yo ma bi na ABDULLAH ASORBA KOFI wa ha an ebo bon komo ASORBA kan sa sumje kam apom yezi Right.
That's why
Very Asoba Siafa wa mampe na so ye oil fallis kwache fusu na so ye mehye buganyi wo ye abrase bu kwaman kase aba ben samipi abra nsamchofo won yitwe nkomo na ekwekiti nsamchofo nsam bia wotum na oba ba yimnu ewi ansa na ansa no ahwe ofebretu beri ohia da nsamchofo hunin hyemize wo oye aban dwumede otum rezinu no ohia da ebutu be na ye yasa ejizire what we ask we another way.
Yeah, come on, is other day, in chair, yes, sir, or yeah, Afiasi, in front of the penny zero, or there, I shall be now. I feel myself was as you won't contain. I want to watch as you won't contain. We say accountability series now. You can answer me. Onye yipakor. Onye yipakor. Na wakre za accountability series no. YouTube na ya beye de marketing na mukasa. David asoyini na do bia ubunu kontai. Yes, odo bia ubunu kontai chere. Africa we you. Ebe na ya OMAR sabwa. Yenso yebotu na yewuda mba. Afia pebi asoyi the madne ye. Ma ba ntu ye ni sisere yi. Ma no waye oyabani na wo kontai no. Abani na wo kontai. It is so yo. When you call for the right people, you go to young man. Oh, master, you don't know it. They be so we if your man can't have, but some of the way while film what kind of way them. I was small today, so when they made them. Oh, no, I'm from, and I'm making one some. My don't go to Abacaman Kofu Rampa, Abana Yadama. Never more queen than a pair come on Kofu Rampa, Abano Sadua, or Wijumaye. Iti kamo oyapapa de mother and our honorable ofusukwachi ojina bana na emiye no ohia papa na ehwe de penna obabano oda soy fofoso ba jisa yi webi nya ban nya na wa aka wasam de pe obaba sin ko ni hia minister of finance onu no ba obabi gina oye Bank of Ghana name ni wetu wa the gold board won hihye edi na che we gbe no biele nwura mpa gold board no 2024 ye to abewe 2025 no abane hihye mode di nya hihye mode yin nti kamo onne da no nya da ode abane no ototo no ase kra de otwentwe na ne ase de mo twen kaka na nti right direction there in the pene be esa fofofrasia the pene be nia abane bunko nyira bunko te discuss me memu wabunu wa hwe na chi wa hwe de ababa ye ba no 2025 ababa ye ba no de mina okisi de min so si sha ye de ye roko ona o me ye na ye de do woni mu da mpa abane ba ye na afabudi nti san no wa ye de oye na memu ne mu nsabo fi bu peyin na o de yitei na ye hwe de ye betasim ana ye ba fa na mara ana ibubu bi egu a oda aba no be de obatatu ni ye ana obetasim ye nti ode yekohwa ni ite ansama ofi mo bai nti oye dan de ya de pene de ntem ya aba no obunu component na obun konta hweda oye okoye ana wankoye no yehwa yebuhu na kaka ye wonso ye wokan ya ka so
okoye wankoye emre na ka bia na ba kire nti yenko hwe nsam trofo nsam bi a wotu obisa suafa Oja Mampen name, Warrington Huzido, Ababis and Sam, Wababin saying, with the 1 city with the toy for do, or then a branch me there, a year, a shop for Dawson, Toroma, before Sissi, I do I him, Uncle Telso, or today, Yankee I would overcome.
Thank you. Okay, so I will answer that right away before I take the next question. The bit about the 1 city levy. I think that the 1 city levy and its relevance and importance was thoroughly explained by the Minister for Finance and Minister for Energy when the bill to have it passed was introduced in Parliament. The whole idea was to ensure that expensive liquid fuels that were purchased for the purposes of firing thermal plants, but whose cost had not been factored into the tariff build-up, was addressed because it was becoming a bit of a problem. The estimates show that on a yearly basis, about $1.2 billion or so is required for purposes of importing liquid fuels to fire thermal plants. Now, if some effort was not made to bridge this gap, it was going to pose a challenge, even as efforts were made to address the many problems that plagued the sector, which we inherited. In terms of the exact amount of money that has been collected, I'm not able to provide the figures now, but I don't think that it's anything that we cannot get in short order. So I'm sure that in the coming days that should be. I suspect that even the Finance Ministry in its yearly report to Parliament on petroleum revenue receipts and the general accounting that is done for the budget for each year will shed light on how much has been collected. But what is clear is that it certainly has been put to good use and has contributed significantly to achieving stability in the power sector. When we took over power, there were challenges with electricity stability. And I think all of us can attest now that for several months now, electricity supply has been stable and we've not experienced the outages that many had feared would be the case. In terms of the clearance of the energy sector debt, I think on Monday, the Finance Ministry issued a statement to inform Ghanaians that up to about $1.4 billion of debt owed in the energy sector had been cleared. I don't think that the statement suggested by any stretch of the imagination that $1.4 billion was all the debt that had been cleared. Indeed, the statement broke down payments to IPPs and other stakeholders. There's a table that indicates how much has gone to who. So any thorough reading of the statement will make it clear that the Minister for Finance or government was not saying that all of the debt had been cleared, but a significant chunk of the debt had been cleared within a matter of a year. And this has brought significant relief to the players in the sector. What had happened was that there was some lack of discipline in terms of adherence to the cash waterfall mechanism, which was designed to ensure that all players in the sector get some form of liquidity to finance their operations. And for a long time, there were some players in the sector, especially IPPs, who were not getting commensurate amounts. And the Minister for Finance and Minister for Energy have ensured that the arrangement is adhered to, and that is how come money is trickled to all the players in the sector, and we are achieving the stability that we have achieved. But
TFM and Channel 1 TV. So I have 3 questions to ask. In the first quarter of 2025, you indicated that government had saved an amount of 400 million cedis out of, or as a result of expenditure cuts at the presidency and restructuring and all of that. It's been 1 year in office. I want to find out from you specific figures, how much you've been able to save as a result of this restructuring in the fiscal year. Secondly, in June last year too, you indicated that government was going to construct at about 600 chip compounds. And I ask you directly because you made the comment or you made a promise. I want to find out from you if these 600 chip compounds you said were going to be constructed at the end of 2025 has been constructed, and when are they going to be operational? My third question has got to do with petitions that have been submitted to the presidency. We know that the last petition that you received, at least from what we were aware of, was a petition on against the EC and then the OSP. We want to find out the status of these petitions and where has it gotten to.
All right, thank you very much, Agosia. On the savings that have been made, arising out of the cost-saving measures that President Mahama has introduced. I'm not sure that I put a specific figure on it. I don't recall ever putting a specific figure. What I can say for certain is that significant savings have been made, and it's not difficult to see why this is so. So, for instance, let's use 2 reference points. There was a time when we had 125 ministers or so under the Akufo-Addo administration. Currently, we have 58. It should have been 60, but for the unfortunate tragedy that occurred on August 6th. Now, even if you pegged the figure of 60, and you did an analysis of what it would require to keep 125 people at posts as ministers and deputy ministers, that alone is significant. Let me give you practical examples. So, every minister of state, indeed, if I show you my appointment letter, you will see that there are things that you are entitled to enable you to do your work. One of them is a 4-wheel drive, a Land Cruiser. You are also entitled to a saloon car. These are duty post vehicles. They are not vehicles that are gifted to you. You use them as and when. But often it is the case that a new one is procured, because invariably by the time that a new government comes, what exists may not be roadworthy or may not have the capacity to perform at a high level that is expected. So often a new one will be procured. You are also entitled to accommodation, and that means that existing government bungalows would have to be refurbished for you to move in. If you are not given a bungalow, then you are given 20% of your basic salary as rent allowance every month, and it is at market rates. In addition to that, if you check my appointment letter, you see that you are entitled to fuel, a certain amount of fuel every week. And then there's a salary that you take, which these days is consolidated to include other perks and emoluments. And then in the days that ex gratia held sway, you will be paid ex gratia, which is 4 months out of every year that you serve in office. Now, the price of one Land Cruiser at current market rate, a standard Land Cruiser that a government official of the rank of a minister or deputy minister must use, is about $120,000, and I'm sure you all know it. There are some that are more expensive, but I think the standard one is $120,000. A saloon car of the sort that the minister or deputy minister would use is about $50,000 to $60,000, depending on the brand that is purchased for you. Now, if at a point there were 125 ministers, and now there are 60 or even 50, let's say 60, just for purpose of analysis, it means that you are avoiding purchasing 65 Land Cruisers at a unit cost of $120,000. You are not going to buy 65 saloon cars at a cost of between $50,000 to $60,000. You are not going to have to spend money refurbishing 65 bungalows or paying, in lieu of that, 20% of basic salaries of 65 people as rent allowance every month. You don't have to pay fuel, and you know how much it costs to fill a Land Cruiser in a saloon car. So you don't have to pay that, and then you don't have to pay salaries of those people. You don't have to bear their travel costs and other things that they are entitled to. And then when they finish their service, you don't have to pay ex gratia to 65 people. When you put that together, you are talking of tens of millions of Ghana cedis, and that is just for ministers alone. When you come to the presidency, in addition to the 125 ministers that we had under President Akufo-Addo at some point, there was a time when they had up to 361 staff. And I'm not talking presidential staffers. The staff of the office of the president, that is the political staff, are grouped into 2 or 3. There are presidential staffers. I heard somebody say that presidential staffers acted as deputy ministers. No, they are not. In terms of entitlements, they are equivalent to ministers, presidential staffers. So when you hear somebody referred to as a presidential staffer, in terms of entitlements, they don't function as ministers, but in terms of what they earn and their package that goes with their office, they are equivalent to ministers. Presidential aides are equivalent to deputy ministers in terms of their service conditions. And then there are political staff who are staff of these staffers and presidential. For example, if you go to the president's office, there's the president himself, there is the chief of staff, there's a secretary to the president, there's a legal counsel, and then there are other senior advisors. These advisors don't work alone. They also have staff that they work with. So if you put all of that together, there was a point that we had about 361 under President Akufo-Addo. I think about 41 staffers or so who by virtue of that position would be entitled to the conditions of service of ministers and deputy ministers. So the 125 Land Cruisers would come with another 40 Land Cruisers and 40 saloon cars, 40 bungalows, or 40 sets of payments of rent allowance, 40 sets of payment of fuel for every week, and then all the other conditions that they are attached. So you do not really need a soothsayer to tell you how colossal the cost to government was to have that number of people. The fact and reality now is that we have fewer people in government now than we did under the previous administration. So significant savings have been made. That cannot be disputed. That must be placed on record. The second bit is about the chiefs compound. Now, it is not my policy. I spoke about it, announced it, but it is government policy. What it is that Akosia, this year, and indeed if you followed the budget for 2026 carefully, you find that government intends to begin the implementation of the free primary health care policy, which was a cardinal policy proposal in our health section of our manifesto. It is something that President Ama himself spoke to on many occasions. Now, primary health care, the medical experts will tell you, often takes place in lower level health facilities. And when we talk of primary health care, we are talking about basic minor diseases, headaches, stomach aches, and non-serious ailments which require attention. Now, currently, the arrangement is such that referral facilities like district hospitals, regional hospitals, tertiary hospitals, and what have you, are burdened with many of these illnesses. So normally, it should be a CHIPS compound, a health center, or at most a polyclinic that handles these kinds of ailments. Now, government's policy is that going forward, starting from this year, there should be some segregation. And indeed, if you check the budget, about 1.5 billion Ghana cedis has been earmarked for that, so that these minor ailments are treated at a lower level. Now, the most basic building block in the health sector is a CHIPS compound, which ensures that this level of care is administered. There are many places in Ghana that do not have it. And I come from Abra Sebu Kwamankese, so I know. There are 265 communities, but we have less than 30 CHIPS compounds. So you see the kind of pressure that is brought to bear on the referral facility at Abu Dungwa, or the health centers that are dotted around Abakrampa and Muri. So to address this gap, government decided that the District Assembly's Common Fund, the disbursement of it should come with guidelines. Because, mind you, the President has also said that up to 80% of all monies accruing to the District Assembly's Common Fund should go to the District Assemblies, which is a departure from the arrangements under the NPP where disbursements were made at the center and left very little for the districts. In order that the disbursement of those funds align with government's overarching objectives like free primary health care and what have you, guidelines were sent. And in those guidelines, every assembly was directed to construct a minimum of 2 CHIPS compounds. There are 261 district assemblies. So that alone gives you in excess of 520 CHIPS compounds. And then there are some that started under the previous administration that have not been finished. If you come to AK for that, there are 2 or 3 of such which were started but got nowhere. And therefore, they also have to be completed. Now, I can assure you that that project is far advanced. I'm an ex-official member of the District Assembly at AAK, so I know for a fact that if you go to a place called Nyamedom and Uhiaba, we started and are almost done with 2 CHIPS compounds. As I speak to you, the procurement process to buy hospital equipment to furnish those CHIPS compounds are underway. And indeed, we are only a matter of weeks away from commission. I'm sure I'll be doing the commissioning myself. So if you come to AAK, you see that project is very far advanced and only weeks away from commission. And the same can be said for many districts in Ghana. And in fact, as I indicated, the local government minister, under whose auspices this initiative, because he has jurisdiction over district assemblies, will be here sometime next week. He can give you a breakdown. I've been in touch with him and he indicates that they still are collating the specific details and data, and he will give you that. But I can assure you that it is a program that is far advanced, and it will be in fulfillment of government policy of beginning the free primary healthcare initiative this year. Now, you asked about the status of some petitions, specifically the one relating to the special prosecutor and the electoral commissioner and her 2 deputies. Let me indicate that unlike the petition against the Chief Justice, the President's mandate in respect of the petitions against the OSP and the electoral commissioner and her 2 deputies ends with conveying the petitions to the appropriate quarter, which in this instance is the Chief Justice. That was done a couple of weeks ago. I think I announced same. A total of 10 petitions were received from various individuals and groups, 7 of them against the electoral commissioner and her 2 deputies, and 3 against the OSP, all of which have been sent to the Chief Justice. So the President has no role again in that, and in that regard, we cannot speak to it. I, as the President's spokesperson, cannot speak to it because I honestly do not know where things are. The Chief Justice's outfit will be in a good position to, maybe you may want to send inquiries to the Judicial Secretary for an update.
Plenty. Actually, I be no there. I shall no doors. Deputy Minister equivalent to that. Special aid equivalent to that. Why? ASORBA.
Kamo assembly se buko na mpre Mr. Ewo na ncha mpre o kire mu ye. Nti manta se de presidential staffer. Oye odu baby a onye deputy minister. But odu baby na edwuma oye. Ote the deputy minister na edwuma. Nti na kire sikana oleji mu da na oye deputy minister ni sika. Na mo oye edwuma de deputy minister. Kamu David meta so ye. Kamu meta so ye. Meta so ye kura. Nti onya further explanation. Because I don't know my kind there. Asuafa wodi boman odoso. Nti wonyina deputy minister bia o deserve man lankusa. Am na pick up. What's there? Na boss nala. Yes, yeah, deputy minister bia. Nti se deputy minister bia yiwa. Asoye bia wa director ho. Even I could be director in charge of
this, in charge of that.
Special operations, in charge of finance, in charge of security, in charge of P. It's a presidential staff for no cho woman yata se de ministers are wo ho nyina no yes our ministers are them presidential staff is na ho no wo ye ministry man minister need mo wo oye residence one na
de no office.
Oh masa Debbie masa sa on shada on me papa. Yes, come on shada me papa. Uza the pen chire ma onabo ofusu kwa chiri chire mu no. Asase o meta asase put on kada woduma te da mala woduma no odu no tro. We me no for be on today deputy minister. But odu be so te deputy minister. Into one about catch the presidential staffer. You the deputy minister. No mu yama kaje paid the watchman. It can be possible. Yeah, it can be possible. It is a be you the deputy minister. I deserve to be paid as deputy minister. Masa, mo ndada hino. Kamu mo ndada hino. Na de we de no umami okogwodo no mbai. Na so aba awuna kwamazo. Yes, awuna kwamazo. Ado de no e gana fu muskau. Bubu hu kontai. And yan kan ensan so that bibia nu anomeda no yuwa osura na tachire mafom. The government power. What for the mass of to win pa? Anomeda no yuwa osura na tachire mafom. Mo wo ye na wo pre wodi no be suma Ghana fo na wa hataro na what idiribi wodi fo na ta or the Ghana fo sada enti the word presidential staff no won sada won ta senti ye use them word dem ndo wa won wo ya boafo bi kakala wo bobo no wi a wa kaji sikabuti wa depay wa da kuchie de deputy ministers da no wa saka but say Ghana ya ni na abu pay because at the end of the day the budget kwa budget ni bo hwehwem So why dey na budget we read and we read ewie na papa na ya mala kotu be da wo boa budget ye kom from a paragraph to paragraph to paragraph, 1 page to 1 page budget ye koma you the government opero sikadala aben opero you dey koni na dem until last year budget we ye be medisi we did the human year review baba na saban be demand do be discuss back one when na se misa be say what a discuss back with the kaya body because now we don't have deputy ministers nzire miskana obere ma so na bad party no wode wubu nkota fa chain oncho me ka chere ma activity series oye papa pra wa abanada wo badima nkofe hu nkontebu odokoro na abanum ntiri ya wewi na abanada echi ya ba ministry sinum asoye bia wubu na kontai asoye bia wubu na kontai doko do mbia oma gana fu hu. Yes, oh my God, for you. That mean another come another that na yede another yeah not 3 days. Another there be Monday no yede oh yeah police committee yede dun komo. Sesare kasebe wa bada wa chere dama instruction sinya no the minister for interior honorable Muntaka on so no dem insishan de be there.
Umakano pentase
mo nkofo nsumo wono. How? Come how? Make us walk and baby the genetic point. But when you then was a Mr. Wodo Yano. When? Now, can tell you what you should be to say, Reginum. Never interview. When?
So for super, I saw the ministers in a 16 now so. For Franta and to Amo Animal for the system, Amo 58 was been Mayfi.
Never Mayfi, ma. About no so a man conda or do replace one.
So this is okay. Who deputies also they are working.
Deputies, deputy minister, there you deputy ministers are in all.
It been more be.
It is a deputy in what you do now. About no so called a deputy on my substantive.
Men and cabin are actually. Right, so the man has into Wakake Guma, a church Bofuma, Amayafo, Wakabra Fowl Bezon, Wakafa and Bezon. A corner of for that, Obayo, wagon, na aqua could be baby. And now we are to more church. Now, so some trophies, baby, I usually Zaibi said, no, although to more quinta, what's it with the fewer one city count, the before one city no, a fiaba. Sika in the word to Mwenya, the bad so to die. And no, we take him to take it to know with Jan, with the deputy minister. I say, oh,
and I mean, I can't tell the politicians and when you want to know. And you cannot come in.
Now, could you
cannot come in with politicians when you want it. O say na dem one city na what the two fuel do no. Kama me new problem. O say na 17 no what so what about 12 about 18. No you the one city that call me echo 14 na. Still the one you gina wala. Until you fan there 17 no what 14 na you fan there.
And for levies a 2 hour to that chow. Ghana, Indian for Subu.
You, I mean, come on, Mamma, make case again.
Okay.
That's when you're bandama. Your father there, I don't know what 17. No, what's so that 14. And I don't phone, no, quit 18 or the ones in the two. Never on motion.
Okay.
Mother, you there 17 and no, on a watch all.
Yeah.
And pa, watch on 14.
Yeah.
Camunia, Nichibu, watch all. It's so quite 18 or the ones in the two. I want a motion. I'm not dying there. What? 17. 17. What? 14. Very good. It's what to do about 14. No, tell you balance of 3 Ghana city. Each liter biala or bottle fuel and amabwa. Yes. So if you were them 3 Ghana city Sikana the bar at the wa only fan Sankada. No, the Muka question when your mind. Why any? Unka come in Muska or the ho. So the Miss Council would die no, won't come with this kind of
wound.
ebe yinka wudi de musika so da ye dwuma mu sere mu weden ka mu medase de musika so da ye dwuma wonte edwuma wode ye ni hu da mpa ye ne fu we na no de 17 na what so do mo be 14 oba 13 no what one se do to me ko 14 in the say na nche 17 this oba 14 with 3 Ghana cedi per liter and per gallon mo ti biala o che lady oboto bia nti sika do asisi ale ya pegu hwanyi o de misika ne de kutua isi jefu wona kaw o de misika ne de kutua eyifu wona kaw o de misika ne de kutua afarfo oye mis fishes wona kaw o sa na nde fel ko ga wo mowe we gina banane wa ka se mi o kire jama abano da oriye no o ya mo kire gbere bi anyo ho abada 4 good months busum popular na premise mbay na fa yi ko je tumi ja banane m kire wo kidi hu nkomo wo fi meeting na so be yayi nti wo yisum de February busum na yomi osan premise baba afafo wen na won kopo kamo afafo wen da won kopo na ka wo ho na ebe ye boy hwe nti ma na ya bobo sika na ide kutua ka wo nti ma na mana so bo hwe de obi nya ni sika na oda kutua oda kaji premixing no daba kamo
SMP no so emefofo ha baka wasam fe ko ja ka se na ba temire wo ha baka wasam nemom yankwa hinanyim na yankwa hwe oya pedun gobado asam abakade asam member yamugo fida kosa tv yakwa abano ekitijuma na ya cheche nazimma akwana bafada ehezi nkita ho atonwade abe wadbet mpefun bizu nkomo ya trade asam member na yin bobon komo wo oya grants wo ebuhye mpefun awo pedu ihe bobon komo ba trade for the Ghana Fire Service obian ho yu bi bobon komo ya trade ya tun inside ako oya YPF no so waja no ye but on for approval mba ihe bobon komo the man so ye call oya GRA Ghana Revenue Authority no so ya tun inside ho nti the mpefun adwuma ku akasa nyina no ye guda ihe ojo nkoma ya mbo a oya what do you call it fida ubobo 6 o'clock na ndeme bia aya krado o pedu na afi tum na yezu honkomo nti ozika ya beda aya kosative mpefasi da utu the man amar na da wode the mensam no tuma babutugo nemom asam membe biara na mpasoede no onye ready we are coming there. We have 45 electoral areas our Cape Coast Metro nti ne hina yekoho asana you government appointees or wutumokan. And we are dealing with 45 electoral areas. You bomba by the close of Oyafi, you to me akuni na ya shede. Bia you cry ya one sanitation, some some or for what jihina wa too. Because honorable James Atta actually there. Ingwa the big juman, obodoni tadi, the mason upon obodoni tadi, nepin kakahwa, ubutumi na wa bo hini jumezi. Empire by there. Zawa can be added onto no yama. Damina some messing can so butu. Now sana abakasa no. Ma yehwe ye kwa ene za otumosisi. Eje ben wonu mepenti yehwe de za yire kan no koma yezi na za yitumi hunin. Acha pay the fire card and adult. Right, and yamina de yebe budu oya pay the community. Pay the community oya community na Africa ka wo often oya Ishasi it develop or Cape Coast. Now Cape Coast North, Cape Coast South so to me by. Pay the community so or Cape Coast North. And they have a honorable member. Now you about to show come or send the Costa TV. Ya shall say ye kwa bano. Now you pay the community nears in Canada to me ya baha. And ye honorable show come. Yamabwa if you da Baba night he was in Abaha Babatina. And ye nasama William pay for your enemy. Etuna show come can oya pay the community. Pedo you are 2 electoral areas. You are Pedo Abakazi and you are honorable James Arthur. And no Oshado, the master you are Pedo in Gobado. But it's Abakazi assembly member. Na any show come on. Why and the my butu abay mbo fida. Yebasa, everybody says in command ya share. Aya Pedo oya ekanko. Honorable, mo akwa ba juma hino.
Yeah, you know.
The bunch of them here.
Adoma wasu ze.
Jamina ju. Honorable, yen sha hine pedu hina so de hine pintu na e wonu.
Yo, ansa na mamanda wase na mama oye Costa TV ahwefo. Mo na chinda na pojima bro. Servisa oye pedu. Gari development ze nyamina adoma na kaka yakra. Yekudo aye kwe n'enyim. Nti sibisa da na waka.
Yen pedu asomdwe bambonsam nzamatumete.
Oh, asomdwe ze wa but bambonsam na kura na BNB ijemizi de onkoye but mama oye regional commander na so ata obrenyi bibia yenya petrol team ma wo petrol pedu nti se yentum ntwa asimpa I think de na abrazi kakra.
Schools are our pedu community. My from Wodope, the Boko schooling. And now the baby in one school con or him from home.
Well, first listen I want pedo Boko, but was it them free friend then was his band bar school when I was a mom of money free easy. I think it don't know but one or two be because of one or two challenges be on na mofomana ya wonko but man po mijine yetu ma resolve by a core and a being say I can say 100% as is be 95% is a what school.
When you watch there on your Costa TV, you trying to marry your community in our John Como, and then you know.
Oh, may watch papa, may also and a man one see you with you and Baba wasn't there on your Friday. Yaba majumezi wire sonko so that we would have had a yesase na haruso yamazan wire fia another communities who wants to baja 2 months aboko nenyim nti Costa TV mo bona bado there azawa yeman kotezi menwa so dem James there pedu fu nyina so wenwo boso wenwo baje dem jumezi a wo bezi coming Friday
All of that's about affirmation.
That's
Something hina ya Honorable James Arthur oya pedu Abakazi Assembly member and it mean in chun komono. That was the can also ni waji da bajo Costa TV awa too. Na fi otum no agba. Ye sho oye kroya e kroyi oye afana afam. You oye afa domguo na afoso domguo. Ye hwa dwumeza wudzi no oye pedu ha papa. Ye wunda stores no doors oye pedu oye community ha papa. Na doma wa no so otum doors. Ye hwa oye pedu community here so a enkano oye kalika sorry I would encourage Sassy, and also the autumn no swan, or a calica. So I say to make a say, where's our son for Nayaza, actually, calico suma, Yaza, Winya, I saw them for Ubu, I have now saw them either down the ground. Until the one or a bocosam cassa, a doma will play the heart, what to win. The demo is a clear bonita so credonum. The one was a mobile feeder, Yababa cancer, or pay the community, nay, dom, atuma agakasa. Abba.
Oya sapapa na dede asemi mama na nkasa so wajatum na wa makwanda nkezi djuma oteda mo ho na infama addition hu da mpa Costa Television sabi mpemfu kan wo se aboda mo hyase wo fie na da idesi yo de 2026 anya yenu community na yekeze yakashe hini djumedase wo ho ntini hu de management apama wo fe no onya apam no kra oya apama oye iyi bama ada communities mu na mpa Costa Television yereba na yereba no mu yamba no mu da bia yenyo be ye aperapere anada yenyo be ye ntokosam de bi oye mpunta odi nyenu community onto Costa Television yereba na ya botwe mpemfu wona adwena gina do de sabe ta se community bu ho na sabua ibisu ho na abrabo ayebo no iyi wenya de bia no sura na okọ ni bisu no foma na okọ a no de mpemfu no hwe ne yi no hwe kono ba foda ebie ni nyara ba balance no mbende etwintafa na makodo da ma ti de mia de bi ode wunyina wuje scale no do mo bia na komoto ni because at end of the day no open critical there ya to aba obi ato aba ni bi. Yes, ballot boss with the Kisi community be alum. Why did what to abene we man won dunya abade yenza no won dunya nanu was the kama oye one community there jama ono no to aba na ama another jama ono na aban no mpemfu binum wusu ho another word ho na anti na ho no yedem achade debi oda bibiala dunya biala wa aba no mu no wale cha community bia odonyo bia ye ne chefa kakran wa banum inti kwesa sinyandiyen ye bo twempenfo na adwene je wo community no de wo community no so sabwa ohia mpuntu nyo waso John na bayu nti se waso John na bayu da no do waso di nyamunzu ne bi entra wada na wo de jaman kan na wi abakere wo de ballot box bisa ye mali atwachin another bo hwe nyo de ballot box bisa na waso yam wo community no nti ya yesasi ye to tefo be mu da masin memesa wo keep us metropolitan assembly nti in Coastal Television ya mo community poncho wala na da wa we tu na da ba na prenes eshida obokọ no bebi obokọ ake next month nzeno wo ba mo community na yuta no mo yenwura ampa wonya abile pempuntu osane ya ba ha ya the resources personalities na edo bobo ho bo community num ya bo hwede wo mbo na eleka no obi nya da mo a ejuma yare ba yen nti sebe de medwuma na so baba nda na wala ko safuna wonye we nti won ya asemi me mere bo wala nkaso won abo yes and I don't know dey no ko bi so dey na wo ko television fu wo fa frɛ asemi me mere free awa no won frɛ wo bi ya ho ne bu rampa eja ho because eja ho tere nyi moro ko do ke the Coastal Television ya wo Facebook ya wo YouTube social media ya jiho ina agbodo ni na nechi wo degeta no free to go the free to go no bia hwebi until the seventh feature ibinya adamoti another DSTV ansana ekitunin you are free to go until uncheck one wa hwe Coastal Television uncheck one wa hwe or free to go into normal TV po na emsuatere normal TV po na nka no yebo no ebo na la eba na de code no office wo na no TV po opinion na da share o TV po na no pe tutukabri bia afi wo obede connect another obede step wo ma unsalenche oye free to go na de bosumi tua won ka wo no tutugu yes tutugu na for normal TV po ya fashe oye wo TV no nechi won se baka Coastal Television de geta na 514 na hu doru kodu bia eho na ebe che community me hia na yede accept member yede personality bits there honorable MC anaso abane mpanyifo ibiri mo don eche wo tax ni etua na da wodi ye wo tax ni etua da wodi ye security service mpanyifo we duma do wo ye na komotwetwe nya yede babro wo oye community num ntire busia we assembly member na politician na wo nya assembly member community no hia bo wa assembly member na mende na Coastal TV mpeyifo ya yin wo telefon iyi ya nje paso ya nje dama teniye ya nje paswa ya nje dama na baka chene Coastal Television obedi miskenti muntum minyiska mfa ma wonti ya mo wamba ebusia ya nje paswa ya nje dama teniye bio ya nje paswa ya nje dama nti se ibi ne baby na baka chere ada ya be no ya bejo paswa ju dama eni ehwehwem na cha poko fi Coastal Television obedi miska owo epo no wa diska egwan but no kolo wo men de ye bo hwe kona ba fada wo community ana wo gbono no oba fa ntampa o de fra na sane nso enye wa se me maka na omanity da ke hu da obo wa abo nti utum we ni sinchan yes utum yi sinchan na Coastal Television ni mkwenda aso e ba fada
about the time so ki ni sinchan
nye we sinchan mo nto abemo no yi ni sinchan bo Coastal Television fo ne jumete no nela na obaba yibi na obaka che no mbra o se na hiye hu de se yere ba oye kotokraba ana ye ba nachin ana de ye ba duakor ahemogbai ana de yere ko esuechi ana de ye kwankafo abra eifua etifi ana sumpo asim kwantada kawo yidu wana wa asim mo no wala baba baba de ma woda beta wo osan na djuma ye bedi nya wasem mmana no konu mmofo na yin ni ebisa wo de anajenje bela jeje be fa na wutu wura wudugo community abe posa wo ya assembly member ya to abamo kenke how many years in itu me lobi ya munyo kuntenu kumpo community num a wutu watu wego ma jumla yofo wa bano amado container kotia asem me ma prim wo de we bugum iwe na ye ma matatata de nya agwo besi nko fai mo boa ewusia ebiru su hye a wa ya da mo ti biara mbro be ye ma eho be ye ahotew me bebe wo de wuro obeye enyije dama the community no ma ne konu me na no nti wo si wuro ni for one see that need to see na fabra asem ya be ye ekopi ko sa television ya ba no ndo na ya cheche matasi hiyo hiya de sekere botua anoli ntua ne sempe funa na je nyebela sekere botua wi a wote ye dem sekere waje je wi wote ye dem onu no ma nyimpa no ne bia no da obeye bia no wetu mwanya ho kaka waye ne wetu emi sika no onya tase da ampa sika ye tue dem na ye de be ye o ye dibi ma ye fa o ye dwuma wa ha no ewu na je be na iwe ni guala ya fa nkofa obekesim doya wabes udubugu nchan doya kat bugu nchan na doya na ahwe no so no so udubugu nchan de megwani ya nyimpa no ya odu uche na kaw nti se wo poso na wo da me ni tue de megwani ye de be ya na ye ma nkofo wole tase da mpa so te da meda na no wura bia la mede bokwa obeji sika no obeji misika ro de me de mutua kaw kamo asema american sisi shara ye kese akomowura obor papa na yere woye mabode de ekomede huna na de wunya bi mo hwe wono mo wo kono so kamo message what time bomb do me na maka che o plane de mo wo ko what time bomb do de ye bia wo mo wo ko na at any time o sana wo tu wura wo du gumpa no mo wo ko nya o so no yankan na kwaka 5% ne mo mai na wotu wura wodugu mpano na emi se hu da mfam no wofi mfam pana no wofi ba na sa ko tu wura go ekije wura na egu a ya na ba no ba he fim pa no ba ya na wa na wo de fom tim nti mo wura di nti da menda mi na no ele to aba me bi da ma ya semi member na ele hwe kona ba fa na mpako no obo community no ada ko sa television yaba obro no yeyi obi din komo ya hwe na ma ko yi fatu why do the what or the one someone say who's invitation no ma yare bambo community no mo ti kari two ya wo bambo security do do bia be fe be light nyim ikona na community na na se bo akara kwampa bia ne dede ho na mu anu mo konta ka no dem so wo de kanea wo de bu so fa kanea mbom epuna adwuma no nsia pem no nso na rekwa no yem hyehyew osani suo de obajo wo ba phone de fi nsem ana obajo bag ni na community etim no nta serima na adwuma ye ite foto adwendo ko sa television ba ye ba no sentinyen iti one sanitation two wo security three na chie wo hwa buanu no mu no mmofama ho wono mo mesia tsedat wo so na pa ibini mu gwa ho mofama wo ko school na waje tomantis manken da soma wo bade onkonkotan na na nchanan asena I sweat da onfa nkwachima ye wa bra school time nkofo ko school nti service education ye betu ho nkobo echi ye wie oye education so a na echi ya bohwe oye za community ni mu edomi na wo hiya de ada wo fo na asomdwe obaba hu ntem ba America se community no wo mpemfu bia wala pye ahente wo mpemfu bia wala pye ebusuenum anahin na yete wona said what na sasa mehema ya bisi headen anahin so oda wo to horman sen wo de takre na na no odi ye peace of mind e district community num nti wo ho bi bia wo kokko na mu nu ja ye community no nti se obanda me hia bibi na makomu nua ho a oni nche bam kobomu nua na abum kobom ne na abum na se me ye free na menye mu nua su ye free a mo kono opi na ogbefu abada eyin ne nkanti am anu so ma baba edan o community num anu so ma boto asase mesim dan o community nya me yin de mo simesin me ne ka na me edan tra community num de Ghana yi nti no cha som ya o de minya no ni nya da men da man katenkisa ko sa television ya bobo no num ye bi jira mo ko to foto adwe da men da be ba anana ya bo hu ono nti no ma ye bo community da bro ba ya ye na ye batena na ya tena so bi o se na Ghana hadi oye hina yelete ebi nsi obi kwande ma on fi community foforo na on community na bi nsi obi kwande ma on katene baby analake odo koye ntase asomdwe odo katena baby a ope ntina me na ma nani sane nso ono nti no Coastal Television yerba na make sure that the man no me bastard or ya perfect community no onya da na sare man jire ye onya da MC jire ye onya da himfa wo community wonya ye asore mpanyimfa wo wonya ye yes wonya ye pa Sunday hom de da asora no hom de kwaku ano ade wo hwan sika na wo ka correction wie na wo fa no wato wado wodoko me ka se asoro no da ho no ho adwuma ye asoro mana wo kwa asoro no woni ye da no mfa awosofo ho
I feel about to party.
I
feel about to party, yeah.
I feel about to party.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm there,
I've been tired to be a fiba. Busumia fiba. Da feel could so I would be in auto party. Now, the crowd, I am a young power woman there. I cry, now I you moba, Kakra, I you Fanta. No, I
don't miss a party here, party.
The man
party.
So they get together.
And Mokaka, now, is it you? The message in show one mixi, would go but Mudash free Jimmy. Only a party. Come on, if that's on that son, come out, and then was my Messiah community on Mulampa, Yabba, Yabobua.
Was actually the number of churches, sir.
Massa,
our every community.
No, but community don't pay for what you be. I want to Bob will be will be a library or community. And so far, Papa Scanner, as that's what to come. I got a car.
And it's
why you crack a moment. I hear cry community woman. No matter what to the collection.
Yeah,
it's a new balance here. Oh, yeah, a July container. That's a July full February will contribute to what they are. Oh, yeah, no, yeah.
And even there, I saw no more posa. I don't call Laba. Wuna kasha krawo ho na yimpa no ansa na obeye zifono o sha so
na sha se fifi
ho che na o school fees aso ye ka ro bobwa nto aba na ma wo tuna o ye payin na wala asori payin was asori payin da kasha krawo no asori payin da sofo no ho che na emergency ba obutu na wa support but from the grassroots obogbo yimpa wo to we general the dabi. But the more the same as no. Pay for a kind of one no, the buna beneficiaries. And when that be a who said to Muka, no to Muku name. Nessie Kaji did Piala Waji. And men and cabin about you.
I want the Messica, working community. No community, no chips compound. A book community, no, your clinic. Inside you cry, so the one I didn't bois. Now, son, will come on Buano. You could be so painful. Oh, maybe main chips compound. Yes, simple. Oh, may baby, young Pato. Now, our friend Nessafo, Mobusum Busum, the Robosham from Kakama, wow, Wanga, and put a great achievement. About you know, they have Chadam or the Debia, workers a young one, sana. Meanwhile, consider 50 Monday to Sunday. By your chapra, Madame Yakwe. One banner for obeying me. One banner for obeying me. Into what she said, could she know banner prejudice obeying me? I better come on, or banner pa, who could have obeying me. I did the barn or the kiss of Kusida. Ninya baggy.
Right, today our budget into Coastal TV Community Connect, Mobadin, the Budum Personado, the Budua, now you are about to come on. Into Nina, no, it will be a bit. Now, so you die, it will bring you a kind. Into baby on to it was. Yes, Uncle Ben, ye all appeared to Kakane if you into me. If you appeared that corner door, the main road or the pedu, you cry a Ogafanafa. But you share the internal links. Piedini, car corner the Finfini. You cry Guafa, you bisu Guafa, and a car named Finfi. Into Sisiara no, you share the Mempempensia. You now, Waban there, there's Piedi Junction. Waban there inside community. No sort of
no link road.
Yes.
America say the first no pedu, you pedu fin finala. Road car conda surho.
I'll pay.
I'll do baby a Ghana water company for it. And then one westwood. in the way soon was the Jata Kakra, a Guay Kakra, Jata Kakra, Guay Kakra, now this soon. Since I put come on, Mr. Demon, it's near be something for work room one day. Why don't bend them? The more can need to straight in a basin. A basin about Modek. I couldn't make a rack of them, neighbor Abu Modek Jason. Huh? In that the Mukanina today, at what I don't know, level Buma in Suta, a little batty chairman, Sunday Bissicar, Pampapado.
If in open space for the community, we a program able to obey. Nina, but why we couldn't watch a cherry, would develop it there, or town country planning, or planning growing. Painful. Look at
I want to one chair, baby, one day backgrounds, Uncle Saw.
Calica saw that away, and when then tell her no sooner hustle. Show me, I got a garden. Show me Calica saw down and put what was no space in the soon. And them car came out to be a wager or a calico.
This attachment, Uncle say, and the mountain name in Burbason, a day boko one, a bottom pain from Adinajado. Yes, a day boko one. A bottom pay for it's about the time or the one calica sono when you walk us up. No, what them area, what them on, what the backgrounds. Yes,
I did a calico, but we have suddenly.
Ah, Massa,
never calico,
cut Mabba, Pedu close one, eh? On your calico phone crow.
Mean them.
And son, I don't know better at Massey. You couldn't bay and son a calica, a son of now on your baby bun. On the man, minimum or negotiation. You couldn't painful, or the one year I saw no painful cut for me there. In Pempriale, Sabu, Yam Wana, and Chawa soon baby in see, I saw that for free. Where's I saw that for free? Was in I saw that for free bill. Ah, more, Cicely, missing house, Cicely, I saw the man can not go down. Pay the women for Cotimbo, was saw that by 3.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3. It's
no. Bibi and Sermon, and you may heady, what became community number by Peter the Warrior, the backgrounds. And the backgrounds, only the backgrounds matter as a fool, an anger council, Uncle Say, and there, Pedu community. Calic, as Sujeti Biasa, not so I don't bother more baby piano, to a bed. Into a negotiation, or young commuter, or there, the moon paying few good animal, was son, no one yasun pay for caca, no one needs to hold them, now one to Paswa, one to Dama. Some cannot pay for what time on a fine, fair enough, what time on. But in there, yet you couldn't put in the cancon. And a sofa biara, a so pain better walk calic, a so done with Pedro. So said there, you put where you man area.
Yeah, in person,
the man has some net. I don't know what the chapel to question now. Majority will community no
aso no so mpuntu ni hina fipiedu
dem na samneti nti se mpanyimfa wode ekono bada ho mawo se bota asase no se agi tu akaso ahwimpo se mpu wanfa amwo anchi butu abede madene wana but yendwin nhwe Canada woda amahin fine wotai we tie kaw bibi an se hwe but yendwin ahona wo ba so no won bibi ya na ye fro no wi a oba 7 nkofo woda no mana and now I a baby parish walla will be a frog 7 coffee won't he? I'm going to walk away about some food. Baby, yeah, the Bible could tell some there. You are some pot on Maca, Cash Nebuchon with ya. Nasabaka Cash Nebuchon, not the wounds, not from a community one year, Naso Kosoko said they be not a way I'm as notice. It's a come on, do why about Chimpe for Nagajado. They are so not a waffado. But they do, you couldn't offer in temple fra. I hear you cry, who knows tomorrow? A chain, my baby, Homa, Yakoya, oh, Minty Santa Fe, oh, yeah, pay.
The whole big institution too, no paid. Because intimate junction without mention paid. Because paid the junction police station, paid the headquarters police station, paid the fire service. Until you cannot
workshop
paid. Entum catch a Ghana water company. There's an Entum catch a water company.
These people,
yeah.
Yeah. Also, one regional headquarters was paid. I mean, it's a come up here now. And some people, nkomo twi bokoda ye bo twempefun na jejo na ya kire nkwan no
Catholic asofo ntete o period
the whole Ghana Roman Catholic seminary what it has
suffer
una no suffer if you school wala no wa suffer
fine
regional seminary o si pedu what yandama dia damandama no kire wo pache wa sana gabo enya dama nsebe nkoti nama pi wo pedu a o da bade sabe mpemfo wodu nesefo no wododo mesuko no kro me ni ntebe pi mpemfo wodu nesefo na wa yekra na minyimara nhwehwem kakra maye ba ansa de budu pedu so ye boto amon minyimpefe de pedu wo hen but mo fo manyu hu ne da oni ana da oni ni ya bada
ni ya asoba hwe ya na fi mehinu mudo IGP abo police fu de son hona bado na nka no mpo obo police na bado mpendo do ahin na hin so na etumeti ansa na enko hemfi na akorowa IGP tema orbo ye dem police fu yi ayetete yonu IGP orbo na nansiara na aye otumfo sezitu aba besred na so ibiemsi aba na otumfo yi ne baka senti na oda abasobodo na dam ho abenta wanye nitam Ghana na maybe bia no there is an example for that nti ejeben briefly yen hwe oya IGP ni mfin na ahorowa orbo oya police yes this our IGP na bakada no twice or tomorrow kan I know IGP no on chachawo no isu ya police fa wo bo ho na abado no ceremony fe wara abra na wo da agbotin wo da agbo wa betirin na chere anya fidi agro krok wonyuma pa asunyi nsi oda otomo ba na achiraba kisi yemi nso papa mami yemi nso papa IGP da abasobodi ama wotum wa ye fe mpanyifuna lo wom na no da abasobodi wo dress oya juniors no na ehwe ceremony no so a na kira oye fe ankasa nti hena IGP ebedo aso papa the mujumezi afra ayo lieutenant mpanyifo hu ndidwuma na wala hall izi the mujumezi fe ho nti echire police no ho akono a etumi aye no ho akono a otumo ye nti yehwa ni na manyifo nkote na besia boka besia kopɛ ihu IGP anje bisan na abenta besia kopɛ na hu na oye
kamo ona order yibisa get na nkasa police officer be se ne there extraordinary be pa na ye ya abeshi binya search an award and search promotion and promoting and there they be amaka da masem monko police da mo hu impe bi age police but menyanko bi a but in fact yen chance mo from na okro police na ofim no baby a yekesie no police fu djuma wuti da woye mo ye fe na papa bi bo hunsem the monda police djuma o desin famric ti da member na mu na pa police djuma o desin famric nti da bia mo kare police djuma o desin famric jede nkokuri bia wo sisechema ahwala no enye police adwuma nti wo krai na wa wode one target wode one mission and a vision wode ko police adwuma da bon ko afo na wo say police adwuma na so nti da mada ga mo da maboso bada yere hu da ma na police adwuma no oti nti police adwuma no obi obaye bibi kakra biara ehu da ampa we sidebo wa fa adwuma no tetirim wa yemo safata no ga mo aboso badi odo nti oye de bia although it doesn't need any recommendation. In Fibia, what that it been by recommendation that the moon coffee, but when I bad and sana, above my bado. It's just straight. Now, what when I bado? Come on, you police if pee or what? On America, there, one target, I would have cried. Chelsea, cana. But you police, you do a what? On phone, there was not on Kajiska. Masa, we license you. I know when we tell you. Yes, Massa, who would wait you? How many days? Oh, Massa, Pocho, Minim, de. Inti a better de kucha. Oh, Massa Massawa, I'm Kakanamucha. Massa, you should watch it. Come, he bid word wait you. Men will car no homo, you will kind of mass road, the minute inti. Sincerely, Malamoko, Massa Samechi, my beefy. Imum sincerely, Obayet, the moment mo come by, and I don't watch now, Mukucha. Okay, no, the mad, the chat, me, yet to be a wa. Pedity. Come on, the mass of my. Nay, oh, well, who don't wait you now, why am wo? Why down? Why are you cry? It's a man, yes, quarter one quarter on fence upon fence upon 5 few when I see. But church details. Baby alone is a yama walla, walk me to Molanka, one sappy Biancacho, officer and a general Mocumaba. Jay Ponicas, Ning Podon, or cannot come to him, Nam, a channel on Fado, on Bubuswa Madampa, in Policity. Into Camo, no crying a police man, the Damaka, or a dozen family. But it be ma, who get a one but police. I want no the baby, police man, on Taba no efe hwe menfo wo bo aba da besi aka ho na so kwohwe police yi besi bi ganga kora ya ma checkpoint na ole check menfo mpo nji sika no ba besi ola mpere kora nche ya onja o menko aba besi ola mpere kora nche ya onja o menko na so aba besi o no wa ye gbo mo so nya wo gbo na abadi.
Onje bana God
come so babesia no why mo obo na abadi and the djuma dam no oti eye bibia o so enyima nkofo wodi tuna ba oye ya obo abada oye enya police ejuma nkotin ejuma bia
na omo
dabra tenten ntire mpanyimfo wo se da kwabra otwa pala wo menumbo o sa na on taka nwe peye de adwuma na wa fayin wo mu no awobaye wo de extraordinary there etedwuma no brani ye adwuma sabe yenye sika ho na bokwa ka jibi ni sika na bedem na bedo no but efa adwuma no kwano mo nye na aka chempokron mo ye na aka chempokron mo tse na aka chempokron mo tse na aka chemp enda cheri ye adwuma no koda oda wo abado nti ye bada oye IGP Christian Toto tete yo no nyo ye bada na ase wehu ibidum mmotene ba worbo na adwuma nam na wabo abado mama nyanka no kote yes mama nyanka no kote ye wo nkofo pi a wono wa konkrase adwuma wori ye de bo police adwuma no o extraordinary ye tuna bo nhia but wonte but wo hu ntire mo nkofo bedan wehu no akobu ho na abado oni da moto tase IGP onfo ne ntufom no ntu no nkofo mpeti no mu rampa ebimu osumada wo ye adwuma papa wo de bo police adwuma no
ebimu osumada papa wo ye adwuma papa wo de bo police adwuma no ebada aye domi biara wo hwe oye kesenfre ko start ebada was papa na so adwuma ya bisa Sunday news at 7 oye joy oye rehearsals papa wo mi ho wo bo ho man no the news at 7 etuma ebada ASORBA papa wo so etuma na ehwe yin bebe wo biara corporate shop papa de biara Ado TV ituna editor Costa no machine so there yes Costa TV community connect no e ka sha so we pede mbo a china na pa ASORBA de nkoma BBC dia na efie na zema wotum na wa hwe na hoboboni na etum na akodo nti bomade na sha so pa da so community aba crowd na ipusu a abomade na efie tuma di hina tum na bibiara etum akolo ye frawo aya assembly member aginu do anji do wo kam akona eba fere ababo hinu eba na eba na community phone bibi sa wona sa we binu so our community a we yetu ho ache sunsunko at bibi so no da they can organize I say push us seven minutes ala na nyi da we have unit committee members oho e we push one na efi wo tum na wa de do na ya akọ henin nti e da obi asi da ma so na jaban na eje e da wasi da wo mi fere na kamera se wo tum na ahwedo e bi aso tum akọ do papa ye mezeme OMAR bin ABDULLAH oya yakopane pe before besa hechi am ma mo no hwe mo ne tie ma je so nyima hira bye bye
you.